live in an imperfect society. There is social injustice all around us, and let's face it, most of the time, if it doesn't affect us directly, we just ignore it.
But thankfully, there are those who do not ignore the injustices done to those who do not deserve it. They reach out to the downtrodden with hands of compassion.
Hands of Compassion was birthed out of love, the love of God, the love for those in need, and the love of two people, Alan and Xana McCauley. Xana came to this country as a refugee from Mozambique. Her personal hardships have given her a keen sense of social justice.
I became very politically aware about the political situation in South Africa, especially trying to understand why did I have to be a refugee, what happened in Mozambique. I wanted to understand it all. The minute I grasped it, I decided, well, this is what happened to me then. I'm going to do my best to bring justice to this country.
When they first met, Alan and Xana were not exactly a match made in heaven. She was a revolutionist and he the Christian. But Alan changed Shana's life in more ways than one and was instrumental in bringing Xana to the Lord.
I'd become a Christian. She wasn't really aware of the gospel or anything like that, and invited her to church. She came to this crazy charismatic church, didn't know what was going on, didn't really understand the message that was preached that night. There was a visiting speaker, but she responded to the altar call that night.
There was a complete change in my life. I got totally converted. I dropped all the nonsense that I was involved in. And yeah, I experienced the biggest high of my life.
The two of them seemed to make a formidable team for Christ, so much so that Alan decided not to pursue his law career and instead answered the call to go into the full-time ministry. This, along with Xana's driving passion for social injustice, led to the seeds of an idea that would become Hands of Compassion.
At that point, we were living under apartheid, so South Africa was a very divided country. It was a country where injustice and racial tension were rife, and the church had to get involved. And the more we read the gospel and understood the gospel, we saw that he needed, as a church, not only to address the spiritual needs of people, but their social needs as well, and that they shouldn't be doing one at the expense of the other.
And I said to him, I cannot just live a normal white life. I have to be involved. I have to see that justice is done.
In 1987, Hands of Compassion was born at the time of unrest in South Africa.
A group of about 350 people had been evicted because they were squatting on land. They had nowhere to go, and they decided to protest by going and living on the lawns of the town council in Randburg. It was at a time when our country was in transition, so it was a very sensitive issue. The role players at that time, in other words, the municipality and the police and everyone else, had assumed that this group would just dissipate after a few days, but they didn't. After a few weeks, it really became a major, major problem as to what was going to happen to this group of people. They were living outside, it was coming to summer, it was raining, and so we as a church, being a church in that vicinity, decided to do something, and we offered ourselves as a neutral broker of peace between all the parties. And we stepped in and we negotiated a settlement, an agreement between all the role players, and we agreed that we would allow that community of 350 displaced people to come and live on our property here at Hands of Compassion. We created a temporary camp, and they stayed for 3 months with us. The neighbors in the area were not happy at all. They believed that crime would increase. They believed that once the community were living on our land, we wouldn't be able to get them off. But we had brokered an agreement whereby the government had agreed to provide permanent land for them within 90 days of them staying with us. And so we made sure that that agreement was enforced.
Hands of Compassion grew from these humble beginnings into what it is today.
Here at Hands of Compassion, we have a few principal projects, the first being the recovery program, which is a 6-month live-in program for people who have struggled with alcohol and drug addiction. Then we have the New Mothers Project, which is for unmarried mothers, find themselves abandoned or alone, nowhere to go and pregnant. We take them in, and while they're living with us, they will have their baby, and then they will be placed somewhere else. We have our clinic on site here as well, which attends to the medical needs of anyone in the community at Hands of Compassion and people living in surrounded areas as well. So we have partnered with the Department of Health. They supply all the staff and the medicine, and in partnership with them, we provide a clinic for the area. We also have a School of Nursing where we train people up, most from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. The students come to us for a period of a year and are trained as auxiliary nurses. We also have 2 children's homes which are registered as children's homes, and one is located here at the Hands of Compassion Farm for 36 children, and we have another one that's located in the city centre in Johannesburg, which caters for 60 children. All of these children are declared children in need by the Children's Court and are placed with us as a place of safety.
Alan and Xana live in the very community they are helping, and this has been a large part of why Hands of Compassion has been a success. For these two, bound by their love for each other and for helping those in need, they know none of this would be possible without the love of God.
We're not people that hear the voice of God every day, but when we see a need, it's clear in the Bible that we need to meet that need. So we just tend to go that way. It's not complicated for us. We find a need that is real and that it's there. And all we want to do is to actually go out and meet that need in God's name.
Hands of Compassion will continue to support the unsupported and uplift those in need of God's love. And their prayer for everyone goes like this: may God bless you with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths and superficial relationships, so that you may live deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression and exploitation of people, so that you may work for justice, freedom and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and to turn their pain into joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all our children and the poor.